Black Indian worker rejected by his boss. In America, he became his investor. Life has a strange way of turning tables. Once, a humble worker with dark skin and broken English was laughed at and rejected by the very man he trusted to give him a chance. His boss called him useless, a nobody, someone unworthy of respect. But what that boss didn't know was that fate had other plans. Because years later, across the ocean in America, their paths would cross again. Only this time, the man once mocked as a worthless worker stood tall, powerful, and wealthy, and the boss who humiliated him now desperately needed his help. What happened next shocked everyone in the room. Arjun was born in the southern state of India, where his skin tone had always made him the subject of ridicule. In his village, children would whisper names behind his back, calling him Kala, black, as though his color defined his worth. But Arjun never let the whispers break him. He grew up watching his mother work under the hot sun, selling vegetables in the market just to put food on the table. By the time he was 20, Arjun left his village with a dream: to build a better life, not just for himself, but for his entire family. He found work in a textile factory run by a wealthy businessman named Mr. Kapoor. Arjun was punctual, hardworking, and loyal. But to Mr. Kapoor, none of that mattered. All he saw was a poor, dark-skinned boy from the village who didn't speak perfect English. Arjun worked endless hours, carrying heavy loads, cleaning machines, and fixing whatever was broken. Yet no matter how hard he worked, recognition never came. Instead, he was mocked by supervisors, laughed at by co-workers, and overlooked for promotions. For them, he was just the Black Indian worker, someone unworthy of respect. But deep inside, Arjun carried something that nobody could take away from him: ambition. He quietly saved money, read old books about business at night, and studied English through borrowed newspapers. While the world saw him as invisible, Arjun was silently preparing for a future no one could imagine. Before we continue this story, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure to subscribe now. Don't forget to hit the like button and press the bell icon so you never miss our new stories. One day, after years of giving his sweat and strength to the factory, Arjun gathered the courage to approach Mr. Kapoor. With his voice trembling, he asked for a better position, not charity, just an opportunity to do more. He explained that he had ideas to improve production, to reduce waste, and even to expand sales to nearby towns. But Mr. Kapoor didn't even let him finish. He looked at Arjun from head to toe, sneered, and laughed in his face. "People like you are born to serve," he said coldly. "Don't dream above your station. You'll never be anything more than a worker." Those words burned into Arjun's soul. He walked away with his dignity shattered, but deep down, something stronger was ignited. The rejection wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Soon after, Arjun made a life-changing decision. He sold the small piece of land his family owned, borrowed money from distant relatives, and bought a one-way ticket to America. With only a few dollars in his pocket and broken English, he arrived in New York City. Life in America was brutal. At first, he worked as a dishwasher, a cleaner, even a delivery boy. Sometimes he slept on the floor of crowded apartments, skipped meals, and sent every penny he could back home. Yet through every hardship, he carried Mr. Kapoor's cruel words in his heart, not as an anchor to hold him back, but as fuel to push him forward. Arjun enrolled in night classes, learned proper English, and studied business administration. He read every book he could find about entrepreneurship, investment, and finance. Slowly, he began to see patterns, opportunities others ignored. He started small, selling imported Indian fabrics at flea markets. Then he grew into wholesale trade. Within years, Arjun built connections, invested wisely, and launched a clothing distribution company. His business flourished, turning him from a poor immigrant into a millionaire entrepreneur. But fate wasn't done with him yet. Years later, Arjun returned to India, this time not as a worker, but as a respected businessman. He wore a tailored suit, carried himself with confidence, and spoke fluent English. Word spread quickly of his success in America, and soon Indian companies began approaching him for investments and partnerships. And then it happened. One afternoon, Arjun walked into a boardroom to meet potential partners. The air was filled with chatter, the smell of polished wood, and the rustle of expensive suits. But when he saw who walked in through the other door, his heart stopped for a moment. It was Mr. Kapoor, the same man who had once humiliated him, the same boss who told him he would never be anything more than a worker. Only now, Kapoor looked older, his face etched with stress. His business had been struggling for years, drowning in debt. He was there to pitch his company to Arjun, hoping for an American investor to save him. For a long moment, the room fell silent. Kapoor froze, his eyes widening as recognition hit him. The worker he once mocked, the black Indian boy he had rejected, was now the man sitting at the head of the table. Everyone in the room watched as Kapoor stammered through his pitch, his voice cracking under pressure. Arjun listened, patiently, his face calm, his hands folded. When Kapoor finished, silence filled the room once again, and then, with a steady voice, Arjun spoke. "Mr. Kapoor, years ago, I asked you for an opportunity. You laughed and said people like me were born to serve. Today, I am the investor you need. But this time, I will decide if you are worthy." The weight of those words crushed Kapoor. For the first time, the power had shifted. The tables had turned. Arjun didn't humiliate him. He didn't shout or take revenge. Instead, he chose dignity. He calmly declined the investment, explaining that he only partnered with companies built on respect and fairness. As he walked out of that boardroom, whispers followed him. Some called it justice, others called it destiny. But for Arjun, it was something greater. It was proof that no insult, no rejection, no act of racism could define who he was. He returned to America with his head held high, expanding his empire, creating jobs, and giving opportunities to workers who reminded him of his younger self. He built scholarships for poor students, supported immigrant communities, and became the kind of leader he had once prayed for. And as for Mr. Kapoor, his factory eventually closed. His name faded into silence. Life had come full circle. Arjun's story became a reminder that no matter how deep the prejudice, no matter how harsh the rejection, resilience and determination can rewrite destiny. So the next time someone doubts your worth, remember Arjun, the black Indian worker once mocked as nobody, who later became the man everyone wanted on their side. Because in the end, respect is not given by others, it is earned and claimed.